What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today, some more Granblue Fantasy Versus. So, the game comes out in America officially tomorrow. Still have to see where the EU release is, and I believe it's relatively soon there will be a Steam release as well. So I've been playing this game since the Japanese release in February, so at this point I have a pretty good handle of like all the characters, system mechanics, stuff like that. So today I wanted to go through a really quick character overview to help you figure out what character to play. Now, before the game came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, this game has 11 characters, no characters, it's no characters, oh my god." But one thing the game has done really well is, because there's so few characters, they all play really differently and address a lot of people's playstyles in fighting games. So I want to kind of go through them all, give like a quick basis of what they do and like what type of player would enjoy this character. Okay, so first off we have Gran and Cat. So these two, Gran and Catalina, are the standard characters, so they're like your Shotos. So if you don't know what a Shoto is, because you haven't played a fighting game before, these are referring to like your Ryu, Ken, Akuma. They kind of work similarly, but they go about it in different ways, usually like differing in their movesets. So Ken being the more wild one, I think, is a little bit like Gran, and Ryu is a little bit more controlled usually. I think it's more like Catalina. So for Gran, our protagonist, our anime protagonist hero with his anime protagonist normals, great walk speed, good, really good fireball. His medium fireball absorbs a projectile and then fires a projectile after. It's really good. He has a DP, 7 frame ball, so very fast. Really good sweep. Really good buttons for whip punishing, but he generally doesn't have that much range. A lot of his moves with range, either like they could be punished like this, or they're traveling like the boot, which is what everyone's memeing right now. He has really good combo conversions, and I'm gonna mention this with Cat too. So since their game plan is mostly about controlling space and using frame advantage, because he has a lot of moves that are frame advantage to try to enforce like a throw game, they don't really have like super tricky mix-ups or anything like some of the other characters have, but they both do a lot of damage, a lot of damage, especially in and near the corner. Really standout moves for Gran would definitely be this. This is the boot, I mentioned it before, the sweep, and his fireballs, and you're just playing a standard controlling space game. Now Catalina is similar to Gran, but she's kind of more passive. When you see an aggressive Catalina, you're going to be kind of like weirded out, because her moveset isn't totally built for that kind of thing, but she can do it when she needs to. She has an even more straightforward moveset than Gran, but the main difference between her and him is that her normals are generally bigger. So she has like this standing medium, crouching medium. This move is like ridiculously good. Standing heavy. Here's her fireball. Her fireball works differently than Gran's. Gran's is better because you can't like low profile. It's kind of hard to low profile. This one you can low profile. Has a DP, goes at a different angle. Here's her sweep. It's kind of good. And again, in her case, like she doesn't have like a lot of like tricky stuff. The main thing with her is that her corner carry is pretty good. Like if you get a hit, you can kind of toss them towards the corner and kind of run them near the corner. If you hit them near the corner, they take a lot of damage. So you generally rely on your neutral game, try to get them to the corner, get a big hit, and cash that hit out. Now, another thing in the game is they have unique actions, and this is called the U button or D button, depending on who you talk to. Gran's is a charge up move that once it reaches a certain level, it will go through projectiles. Like that. And then Catalina's is called the light wall, and it's basically like a focus attack. You could charge it to, I believe there's like 2 levels, and it does different things depending on the level. Gran's is pretty useful. Catalina's, it really depends on the matchup and the situation, and honestly who you're talking to. Some people think it's bad. I think it's pretty good from playing it, but again, you have to apply it really well. Okay, so next we have Charlotta and Lancelot. So Charlotta, she's a character who's very fast, and she doesn't have a projectile, but she makes up for it by traveling across the screen and having a good jump. I really recommend her for beginners, especially if you haven't played fighting games and just want to get into the game easily. Gran and Cat are also pretty good beginner characters, but you do kind of need a decent grasp on how to play fighting games to get good with them quickly. Charlotta is pretty basic, and you can kind of just get in there and start swinging. So her dash is probably the first thing to notice. Her dash is really fast compared to other characters, and her jump is, even though it's high, she falls kind of quickly, and she has this jump light that is active pretty much the whole time. It's a really good approach tool, really good in scrambles. Like if you don't know what's going on, just try to jump and do this. It'll help a lot. Your main goal is just kind of be next to them. So she has special moves that are plus on block, like that's the wrong move. Like this is her quarter circle back M. This is +1, I believe. The EX version is also plus, so she can stay in. She has Demon Flip, so this is like the Akuma move. You can make it go low. You could grab them with it like this, but it only works if they're standing. You could also go overhead. You can go behind them. The moves are, some moves are plus, some are not. If you do the EX version, it's just kind of faster and you can combo off it. Then she has this, it's called the Blanca Ball. I actually don't know the actual move name of this move. Everyone just calls it Blanca Ball. But the EX version is safe. You could use this to get in. The medium version is not safe, but the opponent needs to know a punish. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of like Charlotta as a beginner character. When you're playing her against your friends, the main thing is that they're not going to know how to punish stuff, because you need kind of specific punishes to punish her moves, like her DP and stuff. So you'll get away with some things while being able to experiment. Another nice thing about the Blanca Ball is that you can space it so that it whiffs and it travels pretty quickly, and it's kind of hard to see, so you can get next to them if you space yourself correctly. She has a DP as well. It's kind of slow though. It's punishable, but again, people have to practice the punishes. Now, the last thing about her is that despite all these things being like easy and kind of good, she is a charge character, so that might take some getting used to, but you can use the special move button to do moves without charge. So for example, her DP is actually a charge move, so normally you have to hold down and then do it, but if you just press the special move button, you'll do it. The trade-off is there will be some cooldown, but it's okay, you won't have to charge. Similar with the Blanca Ball, you normally have to like hold back or down back and then you do it, but using the special move button, you can just kind of run up and do it, and it makes her really unpredictable. Now Lancelot, on the other hand, also a rushdown character. He's quite strong, so similar to Charlotta, he has good running speed. His jump is a little floaty, but he can adjust his angle of approach with his dive. This is his unique action. This one's actually a pretty important one. You use this for a lot of things. He also has a lot of like neutral is over things that he could do. So for example, his fireball, once it's on the screen, it travels pretty slow and he could run up behind it, pretty much ends neutral. If you're playing against a character like Catalina, for example, and she's throwing too many fireballs, you can sweep under it. This sweep is safe on block from max range. His like normal footsies aren't that good, but because of moves like his fireball and his dashing punch like this, he can kind of like end neutral quickly and get into an advantageous situation. He's also one of the only characters with like 50-50 mix-ups, because in this game, I mentioned this a little bit with Gran and Catalina, but they don't really have tricky mix-ups, right? And they actually have moves that are big and could cross up, and you are kind of ambiguous, but you could use the block button to block them. But Lancelot has a high-low that you could do, that you have to block high-lows correctly, and it's usually in the corner. I don't actually know how to execute it, but it's usually like this normal, one of these air normals, or you just land and do a low, or like dive and do a low. So if you like mix-ups, if you like controlling space, if you like just getting in there, these two are really, really good options for you. So his main thing is that you have to stock up. So his special moves work differently when you have these flame stocks. You can't just get them though. Usually Percival players aim to like get some type of hit or knockdown before they stock up. The stocks change his medium and EX moves, I believe. So once you have these, you can start really, really bullying the opponent. So for example, here is his medium fireball, right? Normally, but then when you stock up, now it goes full screen. This is just one example of how his moves change when you stock up. He has a lot of like really big normals. This is 5 heavy. His 5 medium is really good. His fireball actually, so this is the first example of a fireball that travels across the ground. So they can't deal with his fireball the way they might deal with other characters' fireballs. Like a general way you would deal with a fireball is you try to roll through it. If you try to roll through Percival's fireball, you get eliminated. He will hit you because it'll hit where your roll is vulnerable. So he's pretty good at controlling space. A lot of the things he does are kind of like guessing games. Kind of in everything he does, there's a guessing game. Like his jump is really low, like this, but you could anti-air it. You could just anti-air his jump in, like no problem, like that. But he can change his air momentum with his jump unique attack or jump D. So everything he does kind of has like a guessing game behind it. So if you like that, you might like him. Also, if he puts the opponent in the corner, it's usually game. Like in the corner, he's really good because he has all the space to adjust like his positioning and control space, but you can't move away anymore. And he has huge buttons, huge buttons, and can position his gun flame really easily. And each time he gets back in, he gets a chance to either grab you. His unique actions to command grab. His offense is really good when your back is to the corner. Now, Ladiva is also kind of like a guessing game character, but she's just straight up the grappler. So, unlike Percival, no projectile, but she has ways to traverse the screen. Like she has a lariat that this only hits standing opponents, but if they're walking backwards, then they'll kind of stutter. The game says it's like a guard crush, so I'll show it real quick, like this. Once you're in, you could just do all the normal grappler things. She has a lot of plus unblock buttons. And for those of you who may not play fighting games and can't do 360s, again, you can just use the easy special and just one button. It's all good. She has the highest damaging super in the game. I actually don't know what the input for this is. Oh, let's do this. There it is. Which is kind of nice. It's kind of like a comeback thing. Oh, I did the wrong one maybe? But her thing is, she's similar to Charlotta. She doesn't have a projectile, so she has a lot of damage from screen, and you kind of have to work on like getting in. So Charlotta's way of getting in is, of course, her run is fast and her jump is hard to anti-air. Ladiva, her run is not fast, but her roll is kind of good. She has lariat, and she has actually really good footsies. So, for example, like this is her crouching medium. So most characters who have moves of this range, they aren't low. So Percival here doing his 2 medium, crouching medium. This is not a low, right? But in Ladiva's case, this is a low. And also her sweep is quite large. It hits like here. Punishable, but quite large. So this move is quite big. So she actually plays a pretty good footsie game once she gets to the footsie range. She just kind of struggles with projectiles because she doesn't have one. And she doesn't really have moves that go through projectiles until she has meter to super through them. But since it's kind of easy to get meter in this game, it's not that bad. And then once she gets in, you have, of course, your command grade, your poke throw mix-ups. She does a lot of damage. And again, since she has no projectile, common theme in the game is no projectile, big damage mid-screen. So if you like grapplers, if you like guessing games, you might like either of these characters. Next up, Metra and LaLanne. So Metra is kind of the first hardcore zoner in this game. She is pretty much the most mobile character in the game, I'd say, besides like Lancelot, and some people might say Fairy. Her unique action specifically is this hop. You'll see this a lot. She can do it in the ground and in the air as well. You can do the ground into the air like this. So as you can see, she has a bow. You're basically trying to shoot them with your arrow in a safe way. One of the things about Metra that's pretty unique is that she's the only character in the game that has a normal that you can't whiff punish. And this is a pretty important part of her game plan. And if you feel like you're not good at like traditional ground versus ground, like neutral game, like ground versus ground interactions, then you might want to consider playing her just for that. Because, for example, like look at a move like this. So LaLanne, he whiffs this. Basically all moves in this game can be whiff punished in general, like that. But her standing heavy, you can't whiff punish it, so they have to play around it. Combine this with like her other bows, so she has like that horizontal bow, she has a low bow, her anti-air is either crouching or like down back heavy, so like 2 or 1C, different angles here. And in the air, she can also fire arrows as well. Just basically this angle. She's really, really mobile. She's hard to catch. Another thing she could use to help with zoning is these butterflies that if you shoot, they go off. The EX ones linger in the corner, which is really strong. The normal ones do not do that. And yeah, there's also this arrow rain to help deal with rolls and jumps. Her main weakness is that she's not really that good against jumping. You have to kind of guess with this arrow rain. But besides that, she's really, 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 really hard to catch. And she has some good setups, especially in the corner with the EX butterflies, which, like I said, they just stay there. So you could do like tricky mix-ups, tricky throw setups. Her overhead sends her kind of backwards and shoots an arrow. So she has a lot of ways to like keep offense. Her rushdown's pretty good. She can reset pressure using this. She can exit safely using this. Your goal is kind of like weave in and out, annoy them with your arrows, and then once you get in, try to get a good hit into butterflies. The other thing about her that's kind of important to note is that she has no meterless reversal. Her only reversal is a meter. It's I actually don't know the input for this move. It's that or it's this. So she doesn't have a DP, so once you're blocking, she gets rushed down pretty hard. Like, you kind of have to earn your way out, but it's really hard to catch her. So if you think your mobility is good, if you like zoning, running away, she's definitely a good choice. Now, LaLanne doesn't really, he's just kind of like the weird setup character. His footsies are like, not the best, but he has stuff like sweep, which is pretty good, and his standing medium is pretty good, but his main plan is you use your summons. So he has that summon, he has the cat robot to control space, and you use them to get in. He has some setups with it. For example, he actually has an unblockable setup with the EX plus overhead. You could dodge that, but there's all sorts of interactions around that. He's got setups with this EX robot as well. And he doesn't have a DP either. He has a counter, which is kind of hard to use because if you counter ground stuff like normals, they can usually punish you for doing it. But if you counter anti-airs or special moves, then they can't do anything. You get a punish. Now, the other thing about him is that his damage is generally not too great. So the way he makes up for it is that his supers have a chance of doing a ton of damage, or if they know how to deal with them, they won't do too much damage. Like, you might actually like get hurt. Also his desperation super, you might have seen everyone talking about this. I'm also making a video just about this specifically. She doesn't die during it, and you have an opportunity to do a lot of damage if you like hit them or get them blocking certain things. And he can't die during it, so it comes up very, 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 very often. So if you just kind of like, setups, summoning, and then kind of like one chance comeback kind of thing, then he might be for you. So next, we got Zetas and Fairy. So Zeta is pretty interesting. She has a lot of kind of like mind game-ish kind of tools in her tool set. She's pretty mobile. She's got this stab that you can direct. A lot of things you'll see basic Zeta player do is like they'll do this, or they'll do just nothing after it, and then if it hits, they'll confirm it into like a combo because it knocks down like that. Her range is pretty good. A lot of her moves are active, and probably the first thing people notice is that this move beats other projectiles, just beats it clean. So they kind of have to play her, instead of playing a normal fireball war, she just kind of wins, so you have to play around it. Also, a lot of the tech that's been found in the game has been applicable to her in a lot of ways. Like, she can fuzzy characters, tall characters into like super. She does have pretty good setups in the corner too. Probably her main thing is that like while her like neutral game is good, it's just not as good as the standard characters. So, and they're pretty popular right now. Like Gran and Cat are pretty popular. So she kind of struggles against that. And again, you have to do a lot of guessing and like conditioning. So between like with this and then also with her parry, because there are she can hold it. She can activate right away. She can hold it. This is the EX version. That's frame 1. So you can sit there for a while, or you can immediately follow up into offense, stuff like that. It's rough to do. Always having to play guessing games like that is rough to do. But if you like conditioning them, being pretty mobile, because she's pretty mobile, and controlling the fireball war specifically, you'll definitely like her. Now, Fairy, she is another zoner. You kind of control mid-range. They gave her a lot of stuff. She's actually a pretty strong character. She has a... The game says it's a fireball, but it's not really. But this move beats fireballs. Her whip beats fireballs. She has a lot of range, as you can see. And she's very mobile. So her up in the air, her up unique makes her swing. Like this web swing kind of thing. So she can move in and out, kind of at her own pace. She's got big buttons. She has a summon as well that she could use to control space, and she has some pretty tricky high-low mix-up because of the cat. You could do like instant overheads or lows, and you can bait and stuff. So while like generally her game plan is just to kind of poke you out, once she gets like a good hit and pulls you in, she's gonna try to mix you up. Also, she has like pretty tricky supers for like comeback potential. Like this is her install super. She can cancel normals differently than other characters. Basically kind of like Melty Blood or LordKnight, like reverse beat. You could really use this for comebacks. You can safe jump into like instant overheads and stuff. It's kind of crazy once you learn it. So if you like controlling space, if you like really heavy setups, you will definitely like her. Really, her only downside is like she doesn't really get to convert random hits that well, and her damage is kind of low. And she does have a DP, but it's only on her EX. So after she uses her EX DP, she's kind of vulnerable to jump-ins, depending on how good your character's jump-in is or how mobile they are. But besides that, she's a pretty complete package, especially if you like mix-ups, because again, you can't really cross people up in this game because of the block button. So having like a good high-low game is pretty important, and she has a good one. So last for now is Vasaraga. So Vasaraga he's kind of a grappler in my head, but he's like grappler plus armor plus kind of screen control. So he's big and kind of slow, so he gets zoned out, but he has armor on a lot of his moves, like this, and his unique action gives him additional armor. So it changes, generally gives him 2 extra hits, but some moves are kind of different. Like for example, this kind of works differently than normal when you're stacked up. He has a command grab too, and right here, and he has an anti-air version as well. His range is really big, as you can see. He also has really good frame data. Like this is very advantageous, and his crouching medium knocks down like that. He, similar to Percival, has a projectile that travels across the ground, so you can't roll it, right? You'd have to either clash it, beat it, or just go over it, or do nothing. So generally your goal of him is to try to get armor, try to get them to the corner, or try to get a big hit. He actually does a lot of damage mid-screen despite having a projectile. So once he actually gets a hit on somebody, he does mad damage and puts him in a really bad situation. You could also use the stance to kind of intimidate them a little bit. Each move in the stance has like he has the low, he has a swipe like this, he can come down like this, overhead. This is also overhead. And these guard crushes all have like different properties. So some of them are minus, some of them are advantageous. It kind of depends on like how you hit them and stuff. He's a little bit technical in that regard. But if you like bullying people with armor, trying to get in there, mix them up to the stance, get them scared, control range, and command grabs, or if you just like characters that look like this, because I actually think half the people who play him just really like him for the aesthetic and don't really care about his playstyle, then he's probably for you. So that should be all the characters. When the game actually drops tomorrow, so for people who've been playing the Japanese and Hong Kong versions, it's been out for a month, so we've been waiting for these DLC characters to drop. But if you waited for the US version, there'll be 2 brand new characters as soon as you start playing the game. So I'm going to be taking a look at them, and I'll post some notes about them tomorrow. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.